Okay. I would say, for the easy low-hanging fruit would be group life. Okay. I would say it gets a little bit more challenging when you're looking at medical, but because of the differing systems, however, I think that's where the companies can benefit the most. And I think even more challenging would be long-term disability, okay, because you're talking about, the collateral that's required. You need to have a big critical mass in the captives. What would you say?
Yeah, I think David's correct. I think the easier stuff is generally the risk benefits and the medical benefits. I think companies and clients and us are starting to look at the long tail risk, like disability, a little bit more. Post COVID, mental health, that risk is going up. So some captives are questioning that piece. But I would also say that some of the newer stuff, so the EB risk that David's just talked about around life, disability, medical, 30 years, yeah, since the first ones. If you look at the last 10 years or so, companies are looking at retirement savings, deferred compensation programs, distraught units that are unfunded, put them into funded, retiring medical. Lots of things happening in the people space and employee benefit space.
But I would say on the pension stuff, you can't jump in on that. That's like starting at a very advanced level. Where most companies that are looking at EB in the captives, they really need to start with the basics. Group life, basic, risk benefits are very easy to do. I would say, in what I have seen, okay, not every captive does this, but I would say that the successful captives, a lot of the historic captives, or the captives that have done it correctly, okay, they turn out to be profitable. Where a lot of them are, you want to aim to be break even, but because they're doing their jobs well, because they understand what risks are, they're profitable. And what you see a lot of them doing is taking that profit and reinvesting it in wellness programs for their employees, which is both, it's a win-win because your employees are getting better benefits. Okay, your employees are healthier, and because your employees are healthier, that means that your claims are coming down. Okay, and if your claims are coming down, it is even more profitable. So it's a selfish benefit of the captive to reinvest in the well-being of their employees.
Completely agree. I would add, you own a captive. The captive owns the risk, means you own the data. So the captives, like David, are doing this well. They have the data, they analyze it, they make informed decisions on the interventions around employee behavior, employee well-being, etc. The other piece, I think, to add to what David's just said around well-being, post-COVID, or during COVID, that pandemic period, and post-COVID, captives are being used to support the people strategy. So finance, insurance guys, with their captives, supporting the HR teams around people strategy. So not just removing exclusions around COVID or suicide or limits changing, it's introducing programs of well-being, and that's really been fueled by the pandemic. So if you ask either of us why companies look at captives now for EB, this is probably number one, supporting the business and the people strategy as much as it is the finance.
Yeah, definitely.
As much. So really good question. Employee benefits touches people, touches HR teams, touches different teams, the tax, the payroll, all sorts of different departments within a company. What often happens on EB captive programs, it's reinsured as opposed to direct. So the captive is not writing direct, the captive is reinsuring an insurer on the front end. That is, so the insurer is tasked with doing all the administration, all the compliance, all the security deductions, all the tax, etc. locally, as it does on other programs. EB is a bit more complex because of this piece. Often needs locally admitted paper. There's typically a network behind the insurers that funnels the cash and the data to the captive. So that's how you get around most of the complexities of employee benefits.
But I think also you need to make sure that you have very clear communication lines within your organization, because you're talking at different levels. Okay, and you're talking about your employees, you're talking about people. So if a decision is made incorrectly, okay, that will have an effect on somebody's actual health or somebody's actual life, and that you need to make sure that the locals understand what they're participating in, what a captive is. They don't have to be fluent in captives, but they have to understand a little bit of a basic knowledge of it.